Welcome to the Crime Redefined podcast, produced by Zero Cliff Media. Coming to you from the US Bank Tower, high above downtown Los Angeles. In our podcast, we drill deep into forensics and criminal investigation from the viewpoint of the defense, as well as explore the intersection of the media and the justice system.
Hey, welcome to the Crime Redefined podcast. In case you're noticing something a little bit different, we have a Crime Redefined YouTube channel, so you can see us two knuckleheads live and in person.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing or bad thing for the audience, but hey, you'll tell us and that'll stir up some
That's right.
social media commentary. But we thought we'd try something new. Everybody's doing video. And also, Dion, I think that our audience probably would like to see our guests as well. I think that could be very interesting. So we'll give it a shot, you know.
Could be a one-hit wonder. You never know.
Might be gone in no time. But other than that, Dion, I think really the podcast is the same. Same kind of content.
That's right.
Same kind of commentary, same type of guests. And, well, what are we doing today, Dion?
That's right. So we have kind of like a little impromptu Terrence Woods update. For a lot of our listeners know that we've been on this investigation for almost 6 years, which is crazy in itself. But we're going to bring our YouTube listeners and on our channel here kind of up to date. So Mehul, why don't you just do a quick little update about where we're at with the Terrence Woods investigation and actually what it is, to maybe start.
Yeah, let's just go back a little bit. So like you said, Terrence Woods, young black man, about 26, went missing in 2018. He's working on a set of a TV show. And the way that it is said that he disappeared is that he said he had to go to the bathroom. He dropped his radio and ran down a steep cliff. So one of the things we want to do, obviously, is go to that site and see how steep that is. And could somebody really run down there? And maybe we'll push Dion off the cliff or something and see if he could actually, keep his footing.
And that's right. So probably a little bit more detail on this is this area is in central Idaho. It's at about 4,000 feet. And they were filming for a show, remote location. It's probably about a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive to get into this location. And like Mehul said, he dropped his radio and he took off, and that's the last time anybody saw him.
Yeah. So investigation wise, they did a pretty good search and rescue for 4 or 5 days, dogs, helicopters, all of that. But once they called that off, there has been no investigation as to what happened to Terrence. Well, we interviewed Terrence Woods Sr., Dion, 3 years ago, probably.
Yeah. And we are working with him. He is part of our investigation.
That's right.
We've teamed up with him.
Right. So since that time, everything we're doing has the full blessing of Mr. Woods. We keep him in the loop. He's behind it. If you go to our GoFundMe page, you'll see a video from Terrence Woods. The only GoFundMe I would add where you will see that Terrence Woods Sr. is physically participating. So, okay, where do we stand, Dion? That's really why we're here today. And the good news is that we have a social media person helping us out. And I just want to give her a shout out. Grace Walker has been doing a fantastic job.
Incredible work for us.
And she will be getting this YouTube thing off the ground for us as well. She started a TikTok for us. And I don't know, Dion, I think that's been probably our best outlet for social media in terms of engagement and hitting a broader audience, the young people, for example.
Yeah, and listen, let's a little bit more on Grace. She's just not anyone. She actually went to University of Maryland, which is the same school where Terrence went to school, and the same journalism school within University of Maryland as well. So she's got, she has some stake in this as well. And this is
invested. Yeah,
another alumni of the school. She's really invested in this, and she's shown it by the results that she's done for us. And we can't thank her enough.
Yeah, and also we got to her through Eugene Oba, who we've done his show
another
a couple
great
of
guy.
Times.
Yeah,
I think other than us, he's the one who's really been covering this case and is really, what is going on here. I mean, nothing in 6 years. The media coverage has been pretty light, and
it's just kind of like a retread. It's just like same scenario, same framing of Terrence, and just till recently. What was it? The Dateline podcast. If you want to give a little update on that, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, so the biggest media in the last couple years has really been the Dateline Missing in America podcast. So that was hosted by Josh Mankiewicz, who you might know. And that was a nice recap of the story. What I liked about it, Dion, was that it actually portrayed the person of Terrence Woods Jr. a little bit better.
It did.
It talked about the work he did. It talked, they talked to his professor who gave glowing reviews. That's been missing in the past. And the problem with that is there's this narrative that he had a mental snap or something like that. And there's
absolutely been no evidence of that at all. And everybody kind of kept using that as an excuse to kind of put it off to the side that he just had a breakdown and he ran. But everybody that we've talked to, and it's been dozens of people, even in the Dateline podcast, they never mentioned it. No one said we've ever seen this. Now you're going to say all of a sudden, he's an experienced producer. He'd worked on shows in London and United States, and all of a sudden he's just going to have a breakdown. Terrence Sr. has said there's no evidence of that. He's never shown any of that. There's just a lot of kind of nonsense out there that we went through and we've tried to verify. And no one said, no, we've seen that. It's just been glowing reviews. He was a consummate professional. He was, loved by his friends and his family, and people that he worked with had, like you mentioned, the professor had nothing but great things to say about him.
Yeah. And I think that was a good counterbalance, because I know Terrence Woods Sr., of course, he's not happy about this thing about Terrence having a mental breakdown. And, on top of that, he was with this cast for a week prior. There was never any indication that he was having a breakdown or anything like that. But just the media portrayal, there hasn't been that counterbalance to have more of his friends and family come in and say, no, this was a good dude, man. He was an excellent worker.
Right.
He was shooting his way to the top in record time. And so I think Dateline gave us that to some degree. Also, Dion, I thought was interesting is one of the conundrums here is that Idaho County Sheriff's Department considers this an ongoing case.
Right.
Well, so what that means is they can't release any information. But the problem is they're not doing any active investigation. So this is really a quagmire where we're kind of at a standstill. Now, in the Dateline podcast, they mentioned that it's actually the prosecutor's office that is keeping the case open.
Right.
And that's something I hadn't heard before. I thought that was coming from the sheriff's department. So that's somebody else we really haven't talked to. And I think this is a good segue. What are we doing while we're waiting to get this money? Okay. You go to the GoFundMe, you see that we want $40,000. Now, that's a lot of money, right? Well, what are we going to do with that? Well, we're going to hire an attorney. We're going to hire forensic experts. We're going to hire investigators. We're going to go out to the scene. We're going to use technology. You can see how this is going to add up, right?
Right.
Because we want to do it the right way. We want to do it in a forensic way so that whatever evidence we uncover, it could be used in court if that's necessary. Right. Nobody's saying a crime was committed here. But while we're doing the investigation, the goal of which is to find Terrence and give the family some answers. But we want to do it the right way. We want to document everything correctly and do it in that forensic manner. So to that end, I have a network of these types of people that I work with. And so we've gotten a little bit of pro bono, low cost work, and we've done some poking around. And one thing is we've gotten educated about cell phone records, what they can tell us, what they can't tell us, what the retention time of those is. And also, our investigator recently reached out to the Idaho County Sheriff's Department, and he got essentially the same door in the face that, hey, this is open investigation. We can't release anything. But
he was persistent about it, and he finally broke down that door.
And one of the pieces of information he got is the actual GPS coordinates of Terrence's last known location,
which we've never had before last week.
That has not been seen before. We sort of know, well, he was with the crew, he was here, he was there, but we never nailed it down. So that's key, because obviously we want to go out there and retrace his steps and look at the terrain and see, is it even plausible that he could have ran down there? Another thing our investigator has worked on, he's run some reports on Terrence in the background, some things that only a private investigator has access to versus Dion or myself. And that's helped to rule certain things out.
Right.
On top of that, he found another way to do a records request. So using this method, maybe we'll get some records, or we will get a no again, and we'll know that, listen, we've exhausted everything. We've done FOIA, we've went through the front door, we've tried this other method. So,
well, Mehul, as an
ahead.
investigation, a lot of times it's just checking boxes. Okay, we can put that aside. We can put that aside, and then this just narrows down the investigation of where we should look. But I guess one of the problems that's always kind of bothered me about his disappearance is that if he was having trouble or he had a break or whatever, you don't wait till you get to 4,000 feet in the middle of nowhere where it would take you probably a day and a half to walk out of to do this. He could have done. He could have left from Elk City or on when they were traveling from Montana to Idaho. There's a dozen other locations where he could have taken off and said, "Hey, look, this isn't for me," right? But you don't wait till you go in. Like literally, this is, if you look this up on a map, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, that it's not like Terrence was some sort of mountain man who was going to use his elaborate skills to disappear off the face of the earth. By the way, prior to this show, he had been living in London. Okay, so if he wanted to disappear, he could have done it internationally.
Exactly.
So that makes no sense. So I'd say another thing that Dion and I are doing is that as quarterbacks this investigation, we have to get our IQ up as well. Right. So we've been talking to the digital forensics expert, to the investigator, to attorneys, and upping our IQ as to how we can run this investigation the most efficiently. And I don't know if you've seen our recent social media, but the first thing we really want to do is this digital forensics. Why? It's not going to cost us $40,000, and it may give us a wealth of information that could essentially solve this, or maybe equally important, put us in the right direction. Right. So we're not spinning our wheels and doing the sort of shotgun approach. But I think that's one thing. And another thing is, let's go out to that site and let's fly up a drone, and let's just show what the terrain is like. Let's get some measurements. Another
maybe
issue
some of that stuff and that's another reason for kind of starting this channel, is that we can visually post this and get some other eyes on it. And maybe there's some locals there, other people in Idaho, or other people that have done, backpacking in that area or with ATVs or whatever, that this might say, hey, look here or look there, or they might recognize something, or maybe they recognize, Terrence, which is obviously another reason for this channel. We want to be able to visually post pictures and video of him, which we're going to continue to do more and more. Yeah. His dad was kind enough to share just a treasure trove of his media from when he was in college and different presentations.
That's right.
With different looks, with a suit on and casual and things like that, just so we can continually keep, his face out in the public, just in case someone recognizes him.
Yeah, that's right. And another thing I would say is that one hypothesis is, if Terrence really ran down that cliff, there are a lot of mine shafts out there.
That's right.
And I'm quite sure that once we get going, Dion, we could probably get a map of them and see if any of those were in his possible track, his trail. Right. And on top of that, like we were talking about, getting a drone up there, maybe at first just simply visualizing, but of course you can get drones that can do all kind of IR photography and laser photography, and we can get a 3D laser scanner out at the scene and really develop, what the lay of the land is.
Yeah, kind of pull back the forest and the rocky terrain and just see what it looks like.
Absolutely. So I think, that's important. And basically we want to retrace all of Terrence's steps, because don't forget, he went to Montana first.
Right.
So what was going on with him and the crew in that time?
Right.
Was there any bizarre behavior, any reason to believe that something nefarious was going on? There's a lot of ground to cover here. So I think that, Dion and I have done a good job of making connections, plotting our strategy, upping our IQ, but, we've got weather to contend with as well. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, Dion, about time of the year and what the conditions are like?
As people can imagine, this is the north. Idaho shares a border with Canada, so it gets cold up there. So really, you have kind of 3-4 months of good weather that we can, where there's no snow on the ground. This is at an elevation that we can go up there and really poke around, get our investigators on the hillside. Shoot a drone. run some LiDAR, all those things where we can have people out there, maybe bring up some dogs, and that can only be done every year in a short window. So, we're kind of, getting towards the end of that season again. So we need to move, as quickly as possible. So, if we can get to our kind of a next tranche where it allows us enough funds to be able to get up there and, shoot some video and talk to some more locals, it'd be great. So anything that we can do on that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So in terms of other things we're doing in fundraising, continuing, of course, with the social media, trying different things to see what works. But what we really need is a big name to get behind this. And I don't necessarily mean financially. I mean to press the retweet button on X. Right. So we've reached out to some celebrities, influencers, and we're continuing to work that, because I think once we get a post from somebody like that, I think that the GoFundMe is going to take off. And Dion and I are well aware of this, that we could go 0 to 100. And that's why we're doing all of these things in the background and plotting and lining up experts, because
we're definitely not sitting on our hands.
That's it. And also, once the money gets to us, we want to press go. We don't want to be like, oh, what are we going to do now? So that's kind of what we're doing in the background. What we need from all of you, of course, we need money. But again, we just need you to, can you repost this? Can you talk to friends and spread the word? That's what we really need to get this ground roots kind of campaign to get this thing going. And this is an important issue. I mean, why is this guy missing 6 years later? And there's been no investigation in the meantime. There's really no reason for that in this day and age, with all the technology out there, all the ways to find people, the digital fingerprints. This is just really concerning. And it just makes you wonder why. So I think that's, Dan, why we're so passionate about it. On top of the fact that this just hits our wheelhouse. You were in entertainment. You were on sets all the time. I'm in forensic investigation. And that's kind of why we thought we were the perfect people to do this. And I think that's kind of the update, Dion. Is there anything else you wanted to hit?
Well, I think just, go watch the video from Mr. Woods. From Terrence Woods Sr. I mean, if you don't feel for the guy, just imagine one of your family members that are missing, and it's been 5-6 years and there's still no answers of what you'd feel like. And I think, after speaking with him early on and listening to him, it's just like, how can we not, use some of our expertise to help this man out?
I mean, on top of everything else, Terrence Sr. is a good dude.
He is a really great guy.
He's a wonderful soul. He's frustrated. He's in a position that unfortunately a lot of people around the world are in. And anything we can do to give this guy some peace. We're all about it. I mean, we need to use this.
Just put yourself in his shoes. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, we like to use the podcast, for something good. I mean, to get exposure, to help people. And then if we can have success on Terrence Woods, guess what? We're ready to do the next one, right, Dion? I mean, we've got the blueprint, we've got the motivation. Hopefully we'll have the following, and we can continue to do good things.
Yeah, so I think if you want to close this out, don't forget to subscribe to our brand new Crime Redefined YouTube channel. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, like they say for YouTube, Dion, I believe, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button.
Right.
And, thank you so much, first of all, for everybody who's been listening to us for all these years, who's been following us on social media. Don't be afraid to speak up, engage with us on social media. And, check us out. We're on Instagram. We're on X, not Twitter, X, and TikTok. And thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Crime Redefined podcast. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Crime Redefined. Please send us your comments and questions and join us for the next episode.